crazy, but I didn't know he would.
How did it run after that, Cat?
It helped it. It didn't spin as much coming off the turn.
Welcome to another high-octane episode of Southern Dirt Motorsports.
Hello everyone, this is Steve Winstead with another edition of Southern Dirt Motorsports. We're here at the home of Mr. Jack Smith. Been trying to track Jack down for a long time, and come to find out, Randall got me his phone number and I called him, and come find out we only live 2 miles apart. Jack was always a strong competitor at any track he went to, and glad you welcomed us in.
Thank you, sir.
Please like and subscribe to our podcast, Southern Dirt Motorsports. On my left, I've got Hall of Famer Randall Davis, and this is Mr. Jack Smith. Jack, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
Just want to ask you, I'm going to kind of steal one of Randall's questions. Whatever possessed you to get into racing, what I want to know?
Oh my goodness. My racing career started, I think, when I was about 16 years old. We used to race up and down Woodbury Hill, 53 highway, up and down that hill. And the teenagers, you wanted to be the fastest one down. I don't see how we ever survived it, but we did. And the 53 highway up there is a straight shot from the top of the hill to Manchester. Mm-hmm. You can run side by side for 10 miles up there, and me and my cousin did a time or two. Racing, us kids racing. That's when I started racing. It was so fascinating to me.
Jack may remember this. At one time we had quarter miles marked off on that road for drag racing back in the day, and the ones that knew where the marks was knew where to go to if they got challenged with somebody. But it got way too populated, but it was a good drag strip when it was first built.
Oh, it's a straight road. I remember when it was all limestone rock. I remember when that highway was gravel. And then they paved it, and of course it's just, like I say, straight as an arrow. One straight is 53 highway. Started there and raced on us kids on you know, as long as we was on the highway, we knew how fast you could go through every turn. On the 70 and on the 53 highway, we knew to the mile how fast you could go through them.
Well, when you decided to become legal in your racing, where did you start at on your first racetrack?
I was working at Oster. I graduated college at MTSU, went to work for John Oster out in McMinnville, process engineer, and finally had a little money in my pocket for the first time, going to school and kids and all that. And Eddie Woodley, y'all remember Eddie Woodley from Van Buren County?
Yes, I've been fortunate enough to meet Eddie's second cousin lately. He works in the I place at Walmart in McMinnville.
How about that? Anyway, Eddie worked there in the purchasing department, and he was racing. Laverne Jones had built a car for Eddie. They had one of the fastest coupes that I ever saw. It was they bored out a 350 till it was I believe 412, and they had a roller tappet Escadere and cam in that thing. They had a tuned exhaust. They had made the exhaust to come out, 8 of them out of that motor, and I mean that thing would fly. And I started going with Eddie and them, and got to be friends, and they just suggested maybe I ought to build me a car, and away we went.
Well, did you race any of the open wheel cars yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't remember where you did or not.
They built me one. We put a 383 Pontiac in it with 3 carburetors, and we started at Winchester.
Well, did they not have 2 race cars, number 412 and maybe a 413?
That was me. 413 was me.
Okay, I remember that now.
Yeah. We'd go to Winchester.
And they was tough cars.
Well, Eddie's was. Mine was a beginner's car, and that's where I began.
But you did well with it.
We
Won quite a bit of races, didn't you?
Let me tell you a little story about that. When we was at Nashville, the Fairground Speedway took it down there one Saturday to time in. At the end of the season down there, they'd have a open competition. Went to Nashville and timed in, and my wheels weren't balanced like they were. For dirt, you didn't have to balance your wheels like they did asphalt. Here I go down that straightaway, and the right front wheels are bouncing up and down. I'm about to go ahead and tie them in. Went to Winchester, went from Nashville to Winchester to race that night. Made about a lap and the wheel run off. That wheel run off. And I thought, my God, 120 miles an hour is going down. That wheel was already cracked.
The good Lord had me looking over us
Oh,
lots of times. out
Yeah,
there, Jack.
lots, absolutely, so many times.
How many years did you drive altogether?
About 15, 18 years, I guess, from about 64 to the late 70s.
Well, Jack was always a good, and I thought clean competitor. I
Yes.
never saw him getting upset. If he did, he kept it to himself and spoke with his car. I always admired that with Jack. And Jack was somewhat of an innovator back in the day too. He, I remembered on one of his cars when we was using leaf springs, he actually moved the springs to the inside of the frame rails on that car. And I never knew where it was to make it handle better, or for wheel clearance, or to keep the car narrower. Or do you remember what you did do that far, Jack?
It was just, I don't know, to get more travel, I think, out of them, Randall. Get
Well,
more spring travel.
Well, I remember you doing it, and I copied that, and it worked good for me after I saw that. I used to, that's how I learned, looking at everybody else's cars. And if it worked for them, I'd try it for me. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But that was one of the unique things I remember about one of Jack's cars. And he also had one that he had cut down and made the car quite a bit smaller than what it was too. What about that one,
One of a
Jack?
coupe, was it a coupe or a full-body car?
It was a full-bodied car.
Gosh, I don't remember, Randall.
Maybe it was the Nova or.
I guess that was the Nova. That was
Yeah.
the one that looked so good later on, yeah.
Well, I want to ask you something. How did you come up with the number to run number 83?
Okay. I'm not sure if it was Nashville or Smoky Mountain, but we had run 88. Right there it is on that old car. Run 88.
Hold that picture up, miss.
And got down there and they already had an 88. They already had an 88. So to adjust our number, we just painted over half of an 8.
Where did you race at the first time you raced, Jack?
Winchester.
Okay.
We pulled it down there with the tow bar.
Do you remember how well you did it your first race?
I sure don't. I was down there. I was a third heat car. Y'all remember that old Winchester track? Boy, they had some fast cars. Bud
That
Fox.
was yes, that was
Bud
one.
Fox come in there from Nashville and dominated that thing.
Bud dominated almost everywhere he was. His dad was a good suspension guy.
Is that where it comes
That's
from?
where
part
it
of
come from. Everybody.
Oh, he was smooth around the track, and that car was perfect.
It was. He had a few unique things about it at the time that we didn't know about, but as everybody started catching on though. But when you, where did you evolve after Winchester? Where did you evolve to then?
Oh my goodness! I guess McMinnville. It seems like McMinnville wasn't running when I first started. It was either hadn't opened or it closed for a period of time, and we were going down there. And then I believe the next place that we ran regular was the McMinnville Speedway out there by the VFW.
Do you remember what year that was, Jack?
That would have been, I suppose, around 60, early 60s. No,
Yeah.
it would have been. It wouldn't have been after that I was there.
Well, it was 60 something, I think, around there when the old, that first old VFW McMinnville track.
Was that when it opened?
It was somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly, but it was. No, it might have been in the 50s is when it actually opened. Looking back on it, so it could have been later on when you moved to there.
Yeah, I think that was the next place that we began to run, and started out running with Eddie and Laverne Jones, and then went from that, I guess, to Paul Walker and Lester Fowler helping me. Lester worked at a body shop there that my uncle ran in McMinnville, Fred Smith, and started helping me, and then Paul started helping me, and we ran several tracks, McMinnville and different ones with Paul and Lester, and started trimming an old car down and made, I guess they called it a skeeter with a wing on it. That's when we went to the wing. And we'd go down to Duck River, I know sometimes, I think, and straight drive, Duck River. Boy, it was a sweet drive. Straight drive is sweet, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, you can touch the accelerator and that back end will kick out a little bit. I mean, you control the back end slide of that car.
Those old cars, the closest thing I can compare them to is pulling the trigger on an impact wrench. And that's about the way they wound up, because they didn't have a flywheel in them either. They accelerated and decelerated. You was either spinning or scooting all the time.
Jack, I was looking at this picture right here. We'll get you to tell us something about it. And I'll read what it says. Stopping the hard way with Fluky Buford, number 84, and Jack Smith, number 83. Smith got crossed up on the front straightaway, hit a concrete field tar, taking Buford with him. Darrell Walter, 48, just missed the wreck as he eases by. Tell everybody where this picture was taken at and a little bit about it.
That was the big Nashville Speedway, Fairground Speedway at Nashville, Tennessee. High bank 5/8, and it was as fast as a lot of mile tracks because you ran right up next to the edge on that thing. And Darrell Waltrip had come in there from up in Kentucky, wherever it is that Owensboro, and had a good sponsor, PB Crowell, I think it was his sponsor out of Franklin. Had a good car, a good driver, and he was top competition. Who was the other fellow that was there before Darrell? Anybody think the name?
Well, you had Mike Alexander's. He was good. He was there.
Somebody had a little blue car. I was trying to think his name a while ago.
I don't remember.
But anyway, and Bobby Bogart started helping me, and we got this car here to start with, and I went down in Alabama, and that car had been boy down there had run at Grand National, and it had a chromoly steel cage in it. I mean, it was top notch. Grand National car run to Daytona.
It was a NASCAR.
And I went down there and bought that thing and come back, and Bobby was working out the vocational school. Bobby was going to school out there or in welding, and he'd come over there and help me, and we got her started and began to run down at the Nashville Speedway there for a period of time. And then we had to give that car up because it was out of date. The 57s were out of date to run, and I got a 64 Malibu, I think it was, and that's what I was driving. That's the one that's upside down flying through the air is the Malibu.
The one that we showed pictures a minute ago.
And
looked like you liked that car. You sitting in there smiling.
I was proud of it.
I can say that was it was a super NASCAR.
It was ahead of its time for what we were running around there. I mean, it had been
there really wasn't a NASCAR car around.
Grand National car.
There's a lot of 55, 56, and 57 Chevrolets that was converted to a race car.
They were.
Jack, what is and it may be hard to pick one, but what is your most memorable event that you've had in your racing career? If you had to pick one thing out that just stands out that you continuously remember when you think about your racing career, what would it be?
The blacktop sort of dwindled, and we moved up here in '72. I'd been working at the vocational school, started working when they opened it in '66, teaching drafting, and then evolved through moved up and got to be director. They offered me this job up here, and we moved up here in '72, and these cars had sort of all gone. This one was wrecked. It never did get back on the track, and built me a little Chevy Nova. I think it was a '62 or '64. And it was a cute little cut down blue and red car. And it handled so good, just ran so good. And me and Marty would go out to vocational school and work on it. Marty started helping me back on these things. He was 10 years old, I think, when he'd go out to vocational school and help me. I remember one night I was up under there trying to get a boat loose, and Martin was there helping me, and I was grunting, and he said, I said, I don't know if I can get this or not, Marty. He said, why don't you give it a good cussing, Daddy? I
Never
said,
hurt, did it?
I said, what do you think I ought to call it, Martin? And I can't tell you on this broadcast what he said, but I thought, this little guy, where did he get all them words? But I guess he had heard me with a hard to get loose before.
Did it work?
It worked. We got it loose. We got it loose.
You had the right word.
I had the right words, and of course Marty went with me to the races back. We were going to the dirt track races on all these things. This deal here in Sparta came up along the way. I guess I'm getting off here a little bit, but this was a good series. They had the motors. They just required a motor, and a 1.4 barrel was all you could run, so it wasn't expensive. We'd have 24 cars starting.
The people at Sparta did, I think, a good job of trying to contain the cost of cars back then. They tried a lot of different combinations to make sure people could stay in racing, and in my opinion, something like that needs to happen this day and time, because they're pricing normal guys like me and you out of business.
Absolutely.
It's really hard for a guy to come out of his backyard and race like we did.
We could take those things, go up to the junkyard and buy anything we need, and sometimes they give it to you, and you go down there and take it off and bring it in, adjust it a little bit, and put it on your car, and away you went. And sometimes there'd be 20 cars, 23, 4 cars starting in a feature down there. That was at the old Speedway, the old Sparta Speedway. I remember going down the back straightaway down there one time, and a wheel had run off the car in front of me, and here's this thing bouncing up and down about 20 feet, bouncing up and down. Here I'm coming to that wheel, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And it came down and hit right here across that top rail bar and made a bounce and kept going. But those were the days. And then we, let's see, what was the question? I've gotten so far off, Steve.
Well, just let me ask you this. Which speedway did you run?
Oh, that's where we were going. That's exactly where we were going. And with the Nova, we wound up going to the new Sparta Speedway. And out on past the old Sparta Speedway, and me and Marty go out there and race and come back through and stop and get us a beer there at a little old beer joint. But I love that Speedway, and that Nova took that thing. It worked so natural on that track somehow or another. It was just a little bit high bank. Not like some of them, but had a little bank on the track. And I won the mid-season championship there one time.
Sparta's where I remember seeing you at the new Sparta Speedway.
That last Sparta track, I don't think there was a better track.
Did you feel that way too?
I agree with Jack.
Okay.
You could just make a car work on that track when it wouldn't work somewhere else. Winchester was a lot like
yes,
that.
Sir.
But you could make a car work out there, and you just wanted to. If you wanted to go fast, you could drive on it.
Yep. And I was leading it, and everything was fine. And we got a black flag. I think they had to stop. Somebody had a wreck, and the deck lid had come loose on one corner. It was just had pins in for the truck lid. It come leaking. It was blowing up, and every Brock said he was just ready to flag me down because that thing was going to come off and hurt somebody. And my crew member, Steve Rowland. It wasn't Steve, it was his brother. And him and Carl Smith had a garage up here, and they were helping me. They run out there and took the deck lid off, and I went ahead and won the mid-season championship at the new Sparta Speedway.
Well, you deserved it. You deserved it well, Jack.
Well, Jack, we appreciate your time. Want everybody to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Southern Dirt Motorsports on YouTube. For Randall Davis and Jack Smith, I'm Steve Winstead. Thank you for joining us.